Good evening, everyone. I'm calling to order the Housing Authority of the City of Salem for Monday, May 11th, 2026. Will the recorder please call the roll?
Commissioner Tigan.
Present.
Commissioner Matthews, absent. Vice Chair Gwynn.
Here.
Commissioner Brown.
Present.
Commissioner Vang.
Here.
Commissioner Nordyke.
Here.
Commissioner Varney.
Here.
Chair Nishioka.
Here. Thank you, everyone. I see some faces that don't generally attend, so I'll just explain that we have 3 meetings tonight. We're having the Salem Housing Authority meeting, then when that one's over with, we'll have the Urban Renewal Agency meeting, and then we'll have the City Council meeting. Sometimes it gets confusing if you're not in the audience when we have a series of 3. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Vice Chair, do we have any additions or deletions?
There are none.
Thank you. We do have public comment. We have Mark Wigg, if you would like to come up and provide us with your name and your ward or address and your 3 minutes for testimony.
Thank you. Mark Wigg, Ward 2. And I'm here, this is the message tonight, and it is only you can prevent wildfires. And, you know, you guys do. But homeless camps are the greatest fire danger in the city. You can check with your fire chief about that, but that is our greatest fire danger. And if you recall back in 2020, when the world was on fire, or Willamette Valley was on fire, we had 200 to 300 people, maybe 300 to 400 people camping at Wallace Marine Park. And when I saw that danger, I went down there. And my only tool was a bag of chocolate chip cookies. And I found several campfires that were untended. And some of them were small enough I could stomp out. But there was one that was a little too big just to stomp it out. And so, but I didn't see anybody around because they were hiding. Now, if I would have just screamed and yelled and threatened people, they would have continued to hide. Instead, I held up the bag of chocolate chip cookies and said, anybody want some cookies? And heads popped out, and I said, put out these fires, you get the cookies. And they did. If they didn't, some of those fires were about that far from dry blackberry bramble, and the wind would have picked up and it would have carried it up the hill, and we would have lost part of West Salem. And what I'm trying to get across is we have to come up with new ways, better ways of dealing with that crisis. It is the most dangerous thing we have right now. And if we just chased them out, and we did just chase them out from under the Center Street Bridge, where do they go? We don't know. But they are going to have campfires. This is supposed to be a really hot, dry year. So let's try to come up with other solutions. You look at Bend. Bend has an area that they said, this is where we will allow camping, but we don't want open campfires in the summertime. And other people have done similar things, but we really need to try because that risk is really high. And, you know, check with the police chief, I mean the fire chief, he's gonna confirm that. And Dan may confirm that knowing that we have this high fire danger and we're not doing anything about it, does that increase our liability? I think so. Anyway, thanks. Please.
Thank you for your testimony. All right, we're on to the consent calendar. Vice Chair?
I move approval of the consent calendar.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Vice Chair Gwynn, seconded by Commissioner Tigan. Will the recorder please call the roll?
Commissioner Tigan.
Aye.
Commissioner Matthews absent. Vice Chair Gwynn.
Aye.
Commissioner Brown.
Aye.
Commissioner Vang.
Aye.
Commissioner Nordike.
Aye.
Commissioner Varney.
Aye.
Chair Nishioka.
Thank you. I neglected to ask our Vice Chair to read them. Thank you.
I knew that.
So would you like to go ahead?
No, it's good.
All right. We don't have any resolutions, public hearings, special orders of business, information reports, or anything else, so we are adjourned.
All right, I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Urban Renewal Agency for the City of Salem for Monday, May 11th, 2026. Will the recorder please call the roll?
Board Member Tigan.
Present.
Board Member Nishioka.
Here.
Board Member Matthews absent. Board Member Gwynn.
Here.
Board Member Brown.
Present.
Board Member Vang.
Here.
Board Member Nordike.
Here.
Board Member Varney.
Here.
Chair Julie Hoy.
Here. Okay, we have no one signed up for public comment. Do we have any additions or deletions to the agenda?
We do not.
Thank you. Moving on then to the consent calendar. Councillor Nishioka?
Yes, I move for approval of the consent calendar.
Second.
Councillor, to your motion.
Thank you. The consent calendar consists of 3.1A, the April 13th, 2026 draft Urban Renewal Agency minutes. No resolutions, action items. 3.3A, approve an exemption to the mandatory requirements and an exemption to the maximum grant amount from the Riverfront Downtown Urban Renewal Agency Capital Improvement Grant Program for a total grant award of $470,000 for building improvements and equipment for grocery and food services. 3.3B, approve an exception to the maximum grant amount from West Salem Urban Renewal Area Capital Improvement Grant Program for a total grant award of $749,000 for a new building construction for multifamily housing and commercial retail services. And that concludes the consent calendar.
Thank you. Anyone have any question or comment? Councillor Tigan, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just want to voice my support for the two grants that are mentioned on tonight's action items. Briefly, I know folks in Ward 1 and in downtown and a lot of folks across Salem have been hoping for a new grocery store to come downtown, especially since of the closing of grocery outlet on Front Street. So very excited that the Urban Renewal Agency will be helping invest in bringing El Torito to a much needed spot here in downtown. So excited to see that investment. And similarly, across the bridge in West Salem, this investment, we can all be excited to have 32 more housing units within our city, sitting above retail, commercial. I think it's important to note that the city, through its Urban Renewal Agency, is investing $749,000. That's the decision tonight, but in the staff report it noted that the private entity working this project is bringing over $7 million of investment into West Salem, and I just really want to acknowledge that and celebrate it, and it's great to see that this project is moving forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Teigen, and I agree. Councillor Nishioka? Wait, Councillor Gwynn, did you have your hand up? Okay. And Councillor Nordyke?
Thank you so much. I too am very excited about these two items, and I will be voting yes. I have been hearing from residents all over the city as to the need for a downtown grocer. We have a lot of potential housing projects that are in kind of a limbo status in the downtown core. And what I keep hearing over and over again is the need to have a grocery store for people who want to live downtown and have places where they can walk to pick up their daily loaf of bread and other essentials. As for West Salem, this is an outstanding opportunity to help transform West Salem. And this council has already been moving in the right direction to support businesses that want to make their dream come true right here in Salem, in West Salem and in the downtown core. I think that this council should be very proud of the work that it's done to support these local business opportunities for us to not only grow our housing stock, but to make better use of the space that we have. You know, vacant spaces earn nothing, do nothing, solve nothing. So I'm really excited to vote on these projects and to see what else we can do to support businesses, not just in the downtown core or in this urban renewal area in West Salem, but all over the city of Salem. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, thank you. Will the recorder please call the roll?
Board Member Brown?
Aye.
Board Member Vang?
Aye.
Board Member Nordyke?
Aye.
Board Member Varney?
Aye.
Board Member Teigen?
Aye.
Board Member Nishioka?
Aye.
Board Member Matthews, absent. Board Member Gwynn?
Aye.
Chair Julie Hoy?
Aye. Motion passes. We have no public hearings, no special orders of business. We do have information reports. I'll read through these titles, and if you have something to add, please stop me. Item 6A, purchases approved administratively from March 1st, 2026 through March 31st, 2026. Item 6B, Urban Renewal Agency Fiscal Year 2026 Quarter 3 Financial Report. And item 6C, Urban Renewal Agency Fiscal Year 2025 Final Year-End Financial Report. All right, seeing nothing, we have nothing further, and we are adjourned. I would like to call to order this meeting of Salem City Council for Monday, May 11th, 2026. Will the recorder please call the roll?
Councillor Teigen?
Here.
Councillor Nishioka?
Here.
Councillor Matthews, absent. Councillor Gwynn?
Here.
Councillor Brown?
Present.
Councillor Vang?
Still here.
Councillor Nordyke?
Here.
Councillor Varney?
Here.
Mayor Julie Hoy?
Here. And I'd like to thank the new Deputy City Recorder, Carl Hoffman, for being here. Welcome to the team, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Okay, we are moving on to additions and deletions. Councillor Nishioka?
Yes, I move for addition to item 1.3A for the Police Week to Public Works Week.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Councillor, to your motion.
As I indicated, there was an error, and it said Police Week when it needs to be Public Works Week for item 1.3A, so that was changed.
Thank you. Anything further? Will the recorder please call the roll?
Councillor Teigen?
Aye.
Councillor Nishioka?
Aye.
Councillor Matthews, absent. Councillor Gwynn?
Aye.
Councillor Brown.
Aye.
Councillor Vang.
Aye.
Councillor Nordyke.
Aye.
Councillor Varney.
Aye.
Mayor Julie Hoy.
Aye. All right, we're moving on to council and city manager comment. Okay, and I have the honor of going first. I would like to speak about the great Chief Womack. Tonight, we are proud to recognize Chief Womack and to thank him for a remarkable career in law enforcement. 34 years in total, including more than 5 years as Chief of Police here in Salem. Chief, when you arrived in Salem in December of 2020 from Stockton, the police department and this community and the whole world were navigating a complicated and difficult moment in history. And when you stepped into the role of chief, you didn't walk into easy circumstances. You walked into real challenges that required patience, steadiness, and leadership that could hold up under pressure. And that's exactly what you brought. Over time, you helped guide this department forward in meaningful and lasting ways. Under your leadership, Salem saw progress in reducing crime, strengthening community trust, and improving officer retention. You also played a central role in initiatives like the Community Violence Reduction Initiative, bringing people together around a shared commitment to public safety. One of your signature accomplishments was leading the department's first ever public strategic plan and bringing it to life. You set a clear direction, focused on improving community safety, building stronger police-community relationships, and holding ourselves to a higher standard of excellence. Like many police departments across the country, Salem has faced ongoing staffing challenges during your tenure. Through it all, you worked carefully and consistently to maintain essential public safety services while also advocating for the resources needed to support both officers and the community they serve. But if there is a thread that runs through everything you have done, it's communication. You made communication a priority, internally and publicly. With the community and with the media, you were committed to transparency. You shared information openly, and you never shied away from difficult or unexpected questions. Chief Womack is one of those rare leaders who managed to earn respect across the board, not because everyone always agreed with him, but because people trusted how he showed up, consistently, respectfully, and honestly. Even those who may have started as critics often found themselves becoming supporters over time. That doesn't happen often in public service, but it happened here. So tonight, on behalf of the City of Salem, I want to sincerely thank you for your leadership, your service, and your steady commitment to this community through both calm and difficult times. Chief Womack, it's my honor to present you with this plaque in recognition, choking me up, boop. That was perfect. Chief Womack, it's my honor to present to you this plaque in recognition of your outstanding career and the lasting impact you have made on the Salem Police Department and the City of Salem. Congratulations and thank you for everything you have given us.
Brief, but Mayor, I just want to say thank you and all the councilors for this and for just entrusting me with the privilege and honor of serving as your police chief. And I just have to say, we're going to do another recognition for Police Week, but I have some staff in the room today, and they're the ones that make me the most proud. So any success we've had over the, enjoyed over the past 5 years is because there's been a whole team coming up alongside me and helping us get there. And so I just want to thank them as well, too, while I have this opportunity. And I'm just reflecting a bit after 34 years, about to step away from the career next week. And all it does is fill my heart with gratitude in so many different ways. For a profession that's given me incredible experiences in my life. It's provided for my family very well. And it's placed me right here in Salem. It's allowed me the privilege of serving two different communities, two communities that I feel like are home now, like I have two homes. And it's just been an incredible career of being able to give back and serve the community. So I just have a heart full of gratitude as I prepare to step away next week. So thank you.
I believe we may have some counselors who'd like to offer remarks to the chief. Anyone? Councillor Nordyke.
Chief Womack, thank you so much. I remember being a part of one of the final interviews for you for this position, and it was one of the best decisions the city ever made. There you are. I was looking in the eye. There you are. Thank you so much. So there are many things that I can say. As the senior ranking member of council, I have seen your entire trajectory with the Salem Police Department, and there are a few things that really resonated with me in particular. When we voted as a council several years ago to create a body camera program, I thought that did an outstanding, I'm trying to think of how best to put it because I don't have prepared remarks, but you've said it best. It provides accountability on both sides of the lens. As someone who herself has had to swear an oath to uphold the Constitution and the laws of our country, it's okay to have high standards of accountability and transparency for government officials, including, but not limited to, our police department. So I, for one, really appreciate how the way that you and your entire department has leaned into transparency and accountability is exemplary. Your own police union wrote a letter of support for the body cameras. They had confidence in the importance of that accountability. Recently, when you gave one of your wrap-up presentations to community groups, you pointed out the fact that since the body camera program has taken effect, we've had more arrests and less use of force. That's a win for everybody involved. So that is a huge part of your legacy here in Salem and a real testament to you and all of your officers and all of your support staff, because we all know all that body camera footage takes a lot of support work and admin work on the back end. Next, from day one, you have always been a supporter of having a mobile crisis team comprised of medical and mental health professionals in addition to your department. And thank you for that, because your support was helpful, I have no doubt, in persuading some skeptics. I tried bringing that program years ago, but they need to hear from public safety professionals like you to understand the value that the REACH team has provided and is now providing. So thank you for always consistently speaking in support of that. Next, your homeless services team. We voted to create that in 2022, and it's made a huge difference, helping to remove lots of people from the streets, which are not safe for anybody, and helping to connect them with shelter. You've emphasized the importance for them to focus on de-escalation, a trauma-informed approach, arresting as a last resort rather than a first resort. And that vision coming from the top, coming from leadership, is now what I expect from our Salem Police Department moving forward. So your successor will have very big shoes to fill, because your homeless services team officers have done an outstanding job and have earned the unanimous support of this council to double it in size. I also really want to appreciate the fact that you've said time and time again, in an era when there's been a lot of emotion around homelessness in our community, you've always said calmly and with objectivity and based on decades of experience, you can't arrest your way out of homelessness. Again, I can say it till I'm blue in the face, but when your police chief says it, it hits different. And then last but not least, you should be extraordinarily proud of the Community Violence Reduction Initiative, something we started in 2023, had a lot of community input and conversation on, and implemented in 2025, and saw a 20% reduction in violent crime. You did that, your officers did that, and I was just happy to vote yes along the way. So thank you so much for the leadership that you've shown and for the efforts that you've made to break down barriers. Our work continues. We need everyone in our city to feel safe, everyone to feel that they will be taken seriously, and I appreciate what you have done because it's been transformative. So thank you, Chief. And again, thank you to all of your officers, your support staff, everyone who's a part of our public safety spectrum. Thank you.
Anyone else? Councillor Nishioka.
Thank you. So I came on as city councilor just as Chief Womack had finished his strategic plan. And as we've already heard, the first one for the police department. All that work and what a great job you've done. I really appreciated your 30 by 30 plan to include 30% female officers by 2030. And you have proven to be doing a remarkably good job on doing that. And I am so happy that we're being able to add more female officers to Salem Police. It has been such a dear pleasure working with you, and I will miss you very much. Thank you for all the work you've done.
Anyone else? All right. Thank you, Chief. We're moving on now to Council and City Manager comment. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to share? No one? Well, I do, if it's okay. Or did you want to speak? Okay, I want to mention my shirt, which says call, text, chat, hope. And then let everyone know that I had the honor of presenting a proclamation at the Youth Mental Health Awareness Resource Fair down at the riverfront on Saturday. It was put on by the Oregon Family Support Network. Oregon Family Support Network, or OFSN, is an incredible resource for families across Oregon who are navigating emotional, behavioral, and mental health challenges. Their work is centered on supporting children, youth, and caregivers with compassion, understanding, and lived experience. What makes OFSN so meaningful is that families are connected with people who truly understand what they're going through. They focus on peer support, training, and advocacy. Through family peer support services, caregivers can work with trained family support specialists who have personal experience raising children with mental or behavioral needs themselves. That lived experience creates trust, connection, and hope during difficult times. OFSN also offers Reach Out Oregon, a statewide support program that includes a parent warm line, text support, online chats, Zoom groups, and discussion forums. These services give families a safe place to ask questions, share experiences, and connect with other parents who understand their journey. In addition to OFSN provides support groups, parent-to-parent connection, and educational programs that help families build advocacy skills, better understand mental health needs, and navigate schools, healthcare systems, and community resources with greater confidence. Most importantly, OFSN helps families recognize early warning signs and connect to prevention, intervention, and crisis support before challenges escalate. Their culturally responsive, trauma-informed approach ensures families feel supported, heard, and empowered, regardless of their location in Oregon. At the heart of OFSN's mission is a simple but powerful message. No family should have to navigate these challenges alone. I want to offer the Warm Line number, a phone number for parents to call or text during business hours, 1-833-732-2467. Email info@reachout.oregon.zendesk.com. Their website is ofsn.org. And call Reach Out Oregon at 1-833-732-2467. Again, just another one of those moments in this community where I realize how many resources are available and how broad the representation is for all members of our community. So thank you to those who welcomed me in that space, and thank you. I bought the shirt, and I will keep wearing it. So thanks very much. Anyone else before we move on? Okay, then. Oh, go right ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to take a few minutes to give the council and the community a brief update on our ongoing coordination efforts with ODOT about maintenance of their properties. So over the past several months, concerns have been raised by both members of the public and council regarding conditions at ODOT-owned properties in Salem. From a public health and safety standpoint, it's important that these properties are maintained while also ensuring individuals are connected with the right services and support. So staff and I have been in regular conversations with ODOT staff regarding the cleanup efforts and also the long-term maintenance when it comes to ODOT-owned properties in Salem. So as many of you are aware that ODOT resumed cleaning at their Salem properties, and in the past 6 weeks, they have conducted cleanup efforts at 4 of their properties, and they're currently working in the area under the Center Street Bridge, and I'm assuming that many of you have heard about it. As part of this work, the city staff, the normal process is for the city staff to engage with nonprofit partners and service providers who continue outreach efforts across Salem so that the individuals are connected to the right appropriate resources and support services. So at the Center Street location, a group of outreach providers visited the site at the time the required notices were posted. I just want the council and the community to be aware of that. And as far as ongoing conversations with ODOT about how we can continue to collaborate and also maintain these properties in the future, the conversations with ODOT about this have been positive and productive. So we do have a framework for an agreement. As we finalize these details, so we'll focus on continuous improvements and showing up with our community's values. We will remain on balancing public health and safety concerns with compassionate outreach and connection to services. We will, of course, continue to listen to feedback and then adjust our approach as needed. So our plan is to come back to the council with more information soon on this. I want to thank ODOT for the progress they have made, and I'm appreciative of that continuous collaboration with the city as we kind of are addressing the issue. Thank you.
Anyone further comment? Councilor Nordyke.
Thank you. Now, I just had a question for Manager Nambouri, and I apologize. I'm hard of hearing, so sometimes I don't catch everything. Has ODOT expressed any interest in setting up any form of security fencing or other things to deter people from continuing to live under that bridge, knowing that we have other services available in the area that we should be directing folks to?
Oh, now you can. Thank you for that question, Councillor. Yes, that has been part of the conversation. Like I said, when we come back to the council within the next few weeks, you get to hear more on that.
Anything further? All right, then, we are moving on to proclamations. Our first proclamations, item 1.3A, is the proclamation for Public Works Week, and it is my honor to present that. Would you all please come forward? Okay, and they're also a choir, so I think they're going to sing. No, I'm just kidding. That was a joke. Thank you all for being here. It's no secret, Public Works is among it's one of my favorite departments because you all get stuff done. So, whereas Public Works professionals play a critical role in building and maintaining the infrastructure, facilities, and services essential for the sustainability and resilience of our communities, and whereas the mission of the Salem Public Works Department is to ensure the delivery of dependable services and reliable infrastructure that safeguard the health, safety, and well-being of all who live and work in our city. And whereas Salem Public Works employees construct, maintain, and operate the infrastructure necessary to live and thrive in an urban environment, including streets, sidewalks, traffic signals, safe drinking water, stormwater, conveyance of facilities, and green stormwater infrastructure, and wastewater collection and wastewater treatment facilities. And whereas the success of these services relies on the expertise, hard work, and commitment of our public works staff, as well as the support from city leadership. And whereas in 2020, the Salem Public Works Department earned accreditation from the American Public Works Association, a recognition of the department's outstanding commitment to excellence in public works service delivery. And whereas in 2024, the Salem Public Works Department earned reaccreditation from the American Public Works Association, extending Salem's accreditation to 2028. Now, therefore, I, Julie Hoy, Mayor of the City of Salem, do hereby proclaim May 17 through 23 as Public Works Week in the City of Salem, Oregon, and do commend this observance to all of our residents, dated this 11th day of May, 2026.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council members, for recognizing Public Works and putting forth this proclamation. Next week is Public Works Week, and we as a department are going to celebrate it. In addition, later in June, we're going to have Salem Service Day back at Riverfront Park. A big part of that is Public Works bringing our equipment and resources down, all of our wonderful workers, to showcase what it is that we do and educate our community. So we look forward to seeing you there if you can make it. And two more things. I want to thank all of these fine folks here for being here tonight and for all the work they do on a regular basis. They truly are the ones that make a difference in our community. I often say Public Works makes people's lives better, and these are the folks that do that. So for all the reasons the mayor mentioned in her proclamation is all the great work that these folks do. And then lastly, I wanted to recognize a fallen member of the Public Works family who passed away last week unexpectedly. Michael Manriquez was a longtime Public Works employee, served Salem for over 18 years. We're all going to miss him, and our thoughts go out to his family, his friends, and our Public Works family. So, thank you.
Okay, now we are moving on to item 1.3B. It's the proclamation, the year of the Neighborhood Association celebrating Highland, Southeast Salem, Grant Neighborhood, and Morningside's 50th anniversaries. Please come forward, and Councillor Nishioka will be presenting the proclamation.
Is this on? Yeah. Thank you for all stepping up. Welcome, everyone. Whereas neighborhood associations are the cornerstone of community engagement, fostering collaboration, civic pride, and a shared commitment to improving the quality of life for all residents. And whereas the Highland Neighborhood Association, the Southeast Salem Neighborhood Association, the Grant Neighborhood Association, and Morningside, a neighborhood association, have each served as vital conduits for communication, advocacy, action within their respective neighborhoods for 50 years. And whereas these neighborhood associations have played an instrumental role in uniting residents, promoting inclusivity, and addressing local issues through volunteerism, public meetings, partnerships with the City of Salem, and whereas their collective efforts have contributed to the enhancement of public safety, the preservation of neighborhood character, and the enrichment of cultural and social opportunities within the City of Salem. And whereas the 50th anniversary of these neighborhood association marks a significant milestone, celebrating decades of dedication, resilience, and community spirit. Now, therefore, Julie Hoy, Mayor of the City of Salem, does hereby proclaim 2026 as the Year of Neighborhood Associations in the honor of the Highland Neighborhood Association, Southeast Salem Neighborhood Association, Grant Neighborhood Association, and Morningside Neighborhood Association, and encourage all residents to join in celebrating their contributions to our community. Dated this 11th day of May, 2026. Thank you, everyone. I will let each of you speak, and then I would also ask that Councillor Brown and Councillor Tigan come up for pictures since they represent your wards as well. There you go, Pam.
Okay, well, Salem, I did this now for over 25 years because I was here for the 25th anniversary. So it's been a pleasure, and it's great to work with all the staff and also the council and being able to voice our opinions. Thank you.
And I'm Shannon Preem with the Southeast Salem Neighborhood Association. I've been chair for at least 15, 20, I don't know, several years. And I am proudly an owner of a house around the corner from the house my grandfather built and from the school where my father went to school. So I'm also very honored to introduce Alejandro. Angelo is our new vice chair. So he'll introduce himself later, but it's old and new. So thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Celine Coleman. I'm the vice chair of Highlands Neighborhood Association. I'm a newbie in the single digits for how long I've been on the neighborhood association, but proud to represent. And then I have Holly Schiffelbein. That's our awesome outreach coordinator, everything. That's pretty much what she does. Every event that we pretty much plan is planned by Holly. I help out occasionally once a year with an event, but everything, she does it. And then our chair, Ryan Erickson-Kulas. He's not here tonight, but they are a power duo.
Celine, you also plan our monthly peace walks, so thank you.
That's all you're going to say? I'm Susan Napak. I am the Outreach and Communications Chair of the Small But Mighty Grant. And I just want to thank the council. I want to thank Salem. I want to thank Irma for all that you do for neighborhood associations, because it's a yeah, absolutely. It's a very smart thing that you do. And I'm sure you realize that, to reach out to the community, to get involvement, to make people feel like they belong in Salem and they belong in the community and that they have a voice. So thank you, all of you.
Hi, I'm Kat Keys. I'm Grant Vice Chair, and I too am a single-digit person. But I'm focused on the celebration, and we are going to celebrate our 50th with Highland this year. And I'm really looking forward to having a great neighborhood party.
Hello, everybody. My name is Angelo. I am the vice chair, as Shannon mentioned, of Southeast Neighborhood Association. The new kid on the block, I would say. But yeah, just thank you, everybody. Thanks to the council. And I'm looking forward to 50 more years.
All right, Councillor Gwynn, we're moving on to item 1.3C, the Proclamation on Police Week 2026.
I'd like to welcome up. I would like to welcome up Chief Womack, Sergeant Brandon Gould of the K-9 unit and K-9 Rupert, Detective Pence Hodges of the Violent Crimes Unit, Officer Nathan Bennett of the Traffic Control Unit, Officer Sean Bennett on behalf of Field Operations Division, Recruit Officer Janika Otaleg, and Recruit Officer Stephanie Groves. Thank you guys for being here. And Chief, my daughter and I are going to miss seeing you walk your dog. So the other day we were driving down the road and she goes, "Who is that?" I said, "It's the chief." She goes, "Why don't you honk?" And I said, "He has his earbuds in and I don't want to scare him." So we'll miss seeing you. So, whereas the Congress and President of the United States in 1962 designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day and the week in which it falls as Police Week. And whereas, since the beginning of this nation, as it is today, law enforcement officers play an important role in protecting the rights and freedoms guaranteed by the Constitution and in safeguarding the lives and property of our residents. And whereas the officers of the Salem Police Department have served as guardians of this community for nearly 170 years. Whereas our city is stronger with police officers who give our residents a voice, treat each individual with dignity and respect, convey neutrality, and act in trustworthy ways. And whereas our community recognizes the responsibilities of its police officers who nobly wear and carry the weight of the badge. while putting their lives at risk to protect people every day. And now, therefore, on behalf of Julie Hoy, Mayor of City of Salem, do proclaim May 10th through 16th, 2026 as Police Week, and ask all Salemites to join in commemorating the service and sacrifice of all law enforcement officers killed in the line of duty, and to salute the men and women of the Salem Police Department who do the difficult, dangerous work to protect our community. Dated this 11th day of May, 2026.
Thank you, Councilor Gwen and Mayor and full City Council. I appreciate this proclamation, this recognition today. Each year during the month of May across the country, law enforcement officers pause and reflect and remember and honor those who've given the ultimate sacrifice, laying down their lives in service of others and their communities. Last week, we did that here in Oregon at the Department of Public Safety Standards and Training, which is our statewide police academy that's here in Salem. We had a memorial service there, a formal service, and thankfully, by God's grace, we didn't add any Oregon officer names to the 199 names that are already inscribed on that memorial here in Oregon. So that's a blessing. And I'm also just so happy and proud to have this representative sample of the 250 plus men and women that make up the Salem Police Department here with me tonight. And as I look at the group, I'm thinking of the diversity of the different assignments that we have, also the generational difference that we have. We have everything from a couple new officers that I swore in less than a month ago, just starting on the job, preparing to go to the academy, all the way up to old guys like me that are getting ready to retire. And so it's a good cross-section of the department, and I just want to recognize all of you and say thank you for the service that you do for the Salem community here. Thank all of you again.
Can we do a photo up front?
Yes, let's go up front here.
For our final proclamation this evening, I'd like to call forward Colonel Russ Gibson. Colonel Gibson currently serves as the commander of the 82nd Troop Command Brigade in the Oregon Army National Guard. With more than 39 years of military service, he has led soldiers at all levels of command, from platoon through brigade, including overseas deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan. Concurrent with his military position, he serves full-time as the Government and Legislative Affairs Director for the Oregon Military Department. I'll meet you over there. Whereas the brave men and women of the armed forces of the United States have selflessly placed the security of our nation above their own safety, and our gratitude for their service is boundless. And whereas Memorial Day is a time for us to come together as a community to honor the memories of those who have served this country, and to remind ourselves that the freedoms we cherish are not without cost. And whereas we pay tribute to our fallen soldiers, our military personnel, and our veterans, recognizing their unwavering dedication to the ideals of freedom and their profound personal sacrifices. And whereas in Salem, Oregon, we are steadfast in our commitment to honoring the memories of those who gave their lives in service to our country with deep reverence and heartfelt gratitude. And whereas each life lost in service to our nation represents a cherished loved one whose absence is deeply felt by family, friends, and the broader community, and whose sacrifice leaves an indelible mark on our hearts. Now, therefore, I, Julie Hoy, Mayor of the City of Salem, do hereby proclaim May 25th, 2026 as Memorial Day, and call upon all residents to join in reflecting on the service and sacrifice of our courageous men and women in uniform, and to express our profound gratitude for the ultimate price they have paid to safeguard our freedoms and liberties, dated this 11th day of May, 2026.
Mayor Hoy, distinguished members of the Salem City Council, thank you. It is, here we are in the 250th year of our country, and I am really just honored and truly humbled to stand here with you and accept this proclamation, and to honor and lift up all of the men and women across all branches of service from every community, every city, every town, every corner of our country, from all walks of life. Including from our fair city here in Salem, Oregon, who did make the ultimate sacrifice in service to our nation. So thank you very much.
God bless you. Thank you. Yep. All right, moving on then, we have no presentations. We do have a couple of folks signed up for public comment. Please come forward when your name is called and share your address or your ward and your name for the record. I'd call Rick Gaupo and Tony Kirk. And you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Hello, I'm Rick Goppo with Marion Polk Food Share and a resident of Ward 1. I'm here to thank the council. I want to thank you for your support through the Social Service Fund. It was amazing. But just the city in general is incredibly supportive, from the city manager coming to the food share during your first few weeks as city manager and getting a better review of what's happening at food banking and with Marion Polk Food Share. To Michael and Eric, part of Community Planning and Development, incredibly supportive. Tori and Dana with Urban Renewal. There's more. Those are just recent encounters. And it's just this amazing attitude that I would say the council and the city has, which is to say, we're here to help, we're here to support you, we're here to make your mission easier, not harder. So thank you so much. And the support is more needed than ever before, literally. We're having, in the pantry network, Marion Polk Food Share gathers as much donated food as we can from the local communities, from government sources, and we distribute it out to about 50 local pantries, a little more, about 35 pantries and programs in Salem. And we're hovering right now around 18,000 unique visits to the local pantry network a month. Context was about 10,000 pre-COVID, 15,000 visits, height of COVID, and now we're about 18,000 visits. So your support is needed more than ever. In food banking, we have this saying that hunger is a policy issue, that local, state, and federal governments, they can pass funding and policies that either actually increase hunger or make it easier for families to get food on the table, that can increase food insecurity or address food security. You have chosen to help families get food on the table. You have chosen to help address food security. So your support through the Social Services Fund brought food to kids' bellies. It had food on the table for families. It helps seniors who live by themselves and are on a fixed income get food. So thank you so much for your support, and I wanted to tell you how much we appreciate it.
Thank you for your testimony. Tony Kirk? And it looks like the button's already pushed there.
Good, because I don't know how to do it. Hello, I'm Tony Kirk. I'm from Ward 2, and I am probably going to do a terrible job of this. Why is it at home? It always sounds so good, and when I get here, it's like a wreck. Anyway, what I'd like to ask you guys to do is to withhold. I'm on the board, so I believe I get more minutes than 3. Pardon?
You get 3 minutes. It does not apply to, that rule is for land use hearings. It's 3 minutes for public testimony for each person. And we can start your time again. Give us just a moment to reset that, please. Okay, go ahead.
So I'm here to ask you guys to reconsider approving the strategic plan because I really believe that what should be included in the strategic plan is something regarding reduction of risk for the floods in Salem. I come from a neighborhood association that is always badly hit during flooding, and not to see that in the strategic plan is disconcerting for us. We would also like you to band together with us to go to the state and federal departments that own or are responsible for administering the property that is owned along Mill Creek, to have them do work right now to restore the riparian areas. What's gone on in Mill Creek is they've channelized the creek, so the banks are gone. So to restore the banks would restore wetlands, which would also make us more resilient to flooding in the future. We haven't done anything as a city to reduce our risk for flooding since, I believe, the mid-1930s, when we put in the dam at Shelton Ditch. We, as a community, are asking you to please consider flooding as a top priority for your plans going forward. We would also like you to band together with us to go to these state and federal agencies to demand that, to request that they do the cleanup of their riparian areas now, not later. Not when they've actually sold the land to doing commercial development on it. That's all I have. So thank you very much for your time, and I give back 54 seconds. Bye-bye.
Thank you for your testimony. All right, that's it for public comment. We're moving on to the consent calendar. Councillor Nishioka?
Yes, I move for approval of the consent calendar.
Second. Motion and a second by Gwynn. Councillor, to your motion.
Thank you. The consent calendar consists of 3.1A, the April 27th, 2026 draft City Council minutes, and item 3.2A, adopt Resolution 2026-15, authorizing the city manager to apply for, and if successful, accept an Oregon Parks and Recreation Department local government grant to fund improvements at North Gate Park. That concludes the consent calendar.
Does anyone have any questions or comments? Yes, Councillor Nordyke.
Thank you so much. I am just pleased to see that we have an opportunity to continue to make more investments in North Salem. I think that it's really important that in this meeting, we've had an opportunity to make improvements to West Salem, downtown Salem, and now the Northgate Park area. all in one meeting potentially, assuming this vote passes. So I'm really pleased to see this, and I want to thank the city staffers always tirelessly tracking down and applying for these grant opportunities, without which we would not be in a position to even afford these improvements. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, will the recorder please call the roll?
Councillor Nishioka.
Aye.
Councillor Matthews, absent. Councillor Gwynn.
Aye.
Councillor Brown.
Most definitely, aye.
Councillor Vang.
Aye.
Councillor Nordyke.
Aye.
Councillor Varney.
Aye.
Councillor Tigan.
Aye.
Mayor Julie Hoy.
Aye. All right, moving on to, we have no public hearings. We're moving on to special orders of business. City Manager Nunbury.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll go ahead and kick off. So tonight, staff will provide an update on two important pieces of work tied to the city's housing production strategy. One is ongoing permitting process improvements, and the second one is the first annual monitoring results for the strategy overall. So over the past year, the staff have worked very closely with the development community, reviewed data, and implemented operational changes aimed at improving transparency, coordination, communication, and predictability in the permitting process. So tonight's presentation highlights the progress made to date, key themes we heard from stakeholders, and several actions already underway. So Robin Dahlke, the Assistant Director for Community Planning and Development, will walk us through those updates. Robin, it's all yours.
There you go. Thank you, City Manager. Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. As Krishna said, I'm the Development Services Assistant Director, Division Manager in the Community Planning and Development Department. Tonight's presentation is intended to provide a status update on both permit process improvements that we've been working on and housing production strategy. We want to discuss how the city is using our data that we've collected and reviewed, what the community feedback and process improvements we've done to create a more predictable and efficient permitting process looks like, and then particularly what we've been looking at for housing development permitting. That's been our focus, although we do permitting across commercial, industrial, other realms. Our focus tonight is going to be on housing production. So to start, I'll provide some background of how we got to where we are tonight. In 2022, the city received some feedback, consistent feedback regarding permitting timelines, inconsistent processes, and customer experience concerns. In response, the city retained a consultant, Moss Adams, to do a review of our permit process. And from that, they produced a study that had findings and recommendations for how we could improve our process. One of the most notable changes out of that study was merging our core permitting divisions into the newly created Community Planning and Development Department that we sit here in today. We upgraded some of our technology systems and began implementing more concurrent review processes. Then in 2024, we had the opportunity to participate in the Bloomberg Harvard City Leadership Initiative, the data track of their program, and that helped us better understand where our focus should be, where delays might be occurring, and what kind of metrics we should be looking at when we do look at data. Then in 2025, we started the Housing Production Strategy Action Plan, and that identified permit process improvements as one of the key housing action items that we should focus on. So what's important is that each step built on the previous one. We started with customer feedback, we validated concerns through an independent review, and then we used data and engagement to better understand where the city can improve processes. The 2023 efficiency study identified 17 observations and recommendations focused on organizational structure, customer service and processes, process improvements, and performance tracking. So your council packet includes a much greater summary of all 17 of those measures and all the status and next steps that we've looked at most recently for those 17 observations. Just to focus on some of the key improvements, we've merged the permitting programs into one department. We've created a program coordinator role that will help with some of those larger or more complex projects as a one-voice contact to walk people through the permitting process. We've really increased coordination between review teams. We've implemented pre-screening to identify incomplete application items earlier on in the process. And then we've developed better performance metrics and public-facing dashboards. The study confirmed many of the concerns staff and customers had already identified, and many of those changes we're implementing today came directly from that work. The housing production strategy reinforced the importance of permitting improvements as a broader plan. The adoption resulted in a councilor motion last year to expedite the reporting timeline for zoning code and the permitting process action items. In December, Eunice presented on the zoning code changes that we received feedback and focus on, and then tonight we'll be talking about that permit process improvement. One consistent theme from the housing production strategy and stakeholder engagement was that predictability matters just as much as speed. Uncertainty in timelines and review expectations can directly affect financing, construction scheduling, and overall project feasibility. Included in your council packet is the 2025 Housing Production Strategy Monitoring Report and Implementation Update. And we have staff and friends here tonight to help answer any questions about the status of the housing production strategy, if you have those. Over the past year, we really did increase our engagement, and that's one of the reasons that we delayed a presentation in December, is we got some feedback that there was a desire for more opportunity to engage in communication with us about what should be the priority today. So we've increased engagement through forums. We've held several forums, one-on-one feedback, information sharing. We've done surveys, and we've implemented a development bulletin that goes out. We also have taken that feedback and started to implement as many of the operational changes as we can immediately. We've immediately added additional management review prior to pre-application conferences. That was feedback we received that was really important, that the information developers are getting at pre-app meetings is vetted by management so that the information they take forward into design is not new information to management who are making decisions. We expanded flexibility for early model home permits in subdivisions to get those model homes in and built so they have a product to show when they're selling and starting to build on the remainder of the subdivision. And then we continued improvements to communication and coordination in ways that we can open that up to the development community. These discussions have also helped us better understand which factors are within the city's control and which are not within our control and influenced by larger market and regulatory compliance issues. Following our most recent permit forum that we held in February, we distributed a survey, and that survey went out to every permit applicant in our permit system for the past year. So it was about 300 applicants, and then everyone that participated in the forums. The feedback themes were consistent, that clearer communication and process, permit application center and web updates are needed, that they'd like better coordination and communication, and that project coordinator support's really important to them, that we develop that and enhance the availability of that. Importantly, many of these requests were less about changing standards and more about improving predictability and consistency in the process. A full summary of those survey results is also attached in your council packet. So timelines. This is a question we get often, and it can be really challenging to talk about permit timelines with all of the different processes that a site can go through. There's no single permit process. Different project types, different site conditions, financing structure, infrastructure needs can dramatically change the timeline for a project looks like. So, for example, a duplex on an infill lot would go through the process much faster than a complex subdivision on bare land in grading and platting requirements that come in. Inherently, that's going to be more complex. When we reviewed housing-related development timelines over the past several years, we found that multifamily projects, apartment complexes, were moving from the land use application phase through to the building permit phase in less than a year. So that timeline, when we look at every multifamily permit issued in 2025, with the exception of one case that was appealed by a neighbor to the Land Use Board of Appeals, outside of that case that was delayed from that appeal, overall the timeline was average 231 days to get through the process. Now when we look at subdivision development timelines, which was a focus question from the councilor's motion, we see that residential timelines from land use application, residential subdivision from land use application to pulling a building permit on a newly created lot averages about 3 years. It's important, though, to highlight that we're only seeing 2 to 3 subdivisions a year, so it can take a lot of time to gather the data of subdivisions to see if any of the process improvements we're making are having an impact on that time frame when it's on average about a 3-year process. Now, if we break that down and look at what is within that 3 years, what is happening, what's interesting is that about 2.5 years of that 3-year timeline occurs during the applicant's design, construction, and coordination phase outside of the city's control, so not in active city review. I have another visual of that, but that seems like a long time, but it's actually not all that surprising when you look at some of the complex land that we're now developing and the work that it takes to create a new subdivision and build a new street and cut in a new hillside and build a retaining wall and bring in utilities. All of the work involved in a subdivision, there's a lengthy amount of time that goes into designing and building that.
Robin, excuse me, Councillor Tigan has a question, I believe.
Oh, sure.
Thank you, Ms. Delkey. Just a clarification. So if the 3-year timeline occurs during design, construction, and project coordination, what's the nature of the construction if they don't have building permits? Is it the
subdivision infrastructure?
The infrastructure itself?
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
So if you were to look at a 12-lot subdivision in a flat part of town that has an existing boundary street, say on Center Street, and all that they're doing is a flag lot with a few infill lots, they're not building a street, they're possibly connecting to utilities that are already in Center Street, that time frame is going to significantly shrink. But when you go into West Salem, you're building a 100-lot subdivision and you're cutting in new collector streets, extending water, extending sewer mains. That's that construction and design timeline that we're talking about that's outside of the land use application, permit application, and plat review timeframe. So another way to look at it, when we look at what's driving that timeline, it shows about 6 months of that time is spent with the city. That's the time when we are reviewing the land use application, the time when we're reviewing the civil design plans for the subdivision infrastructure, and the time when we're reviewing the plat, before the plat records, the lot's created, and then it comes in for a building permit. So this version breaks out the time spent in active city review, the time with the developer, and the overall timeline. What we've described so far is a high-level review of permit timelines. The data helps us better understand what's contributing to delays, where the city can make improvements, and where timing is influenced by factors outside of our direct control. Our goal really, though, is to be more transparent about what these timelines look like, while continuing to focus on areas that we can make improvements and speed things up. Brings me to my famous dashboard that we are very proud of, although we have a lot of improvements to make as well. So we did create this development application dashboard using Power BI, a new system that the city's invested in. This currently includes data for all housing-related permits and all types of land use applications. This is an example of building permits for single and middle housing application types. It shows the average of days with city staff, which is in the dark blue, days with the applicant in the lighter blue, and then days waiting for the fees to be paid in the green. Overall, our dashboard tracks review times, approval rates, review cycles, and then time spent with the city versus time spent with the applicant. This has really helped us move beyond anecdotal feedback and better understand where delays occur and where improvements are working. It also improves transparency and accountability for both the public and staff. So one important finding from the data is the impact of repeated review cycles or multiple review cycles. Looking at recent residential permit data, so this was the past 5 months, we had 82 residential permits that were issued. 42% of those were approved within the first review cycle, which is 10 business days. So that's a really speedy turnaround. We reported in our budget committee meeting, 100% of our reviews, single-family reviews, are done in 10 business days. So we really stick to that goal, and when we are able to do that approval in that first review cycle, that turns a permit around really quickly. But we still have 58% that are going through more than one review cycle, and so it's important that we look for what are common missing and incomplete submittal items that inherently will create that second review, and what can we do to make that more apparent to applicants. And hopefully quickly identify those, like within the first 24 or 48 hours, to get those items in as part of the application and hopefully get that review cycle approved in that first round of review. So we've partially implemented phased pre-screening to get that done for commercial and public construction review, but we really want to bring that into residential review as well if it's desired by the community, and make sure we get those items identified early on. So as we review data, one thing becomes very clear. Many of the largest influences are things that development timelines occur that are outside of the direct city review time. Inherently, factors include land complexity, capital such as financing, grant timing, investment, contractor and design professional availability, market conditions and feasibility for the type of development, and then state and local policy requirements. Understanding that these factors can have influence on areas where operational improvements can actually make a measurable difference, I think, is important. So what we've consistently heard from the development community is that there are too many review cycles, timelines are unpredictable and too long, and that expectations are unclear with a lack of communication. We've really implemented a lot of changes, and we continue to do on a weekly basis. Pre-screening, concurrent reviews, coordinated comments are some of the examples. And our improvements have focused on 3 things that we hope result in fewer review cycles, shorter timelines, and more predictable process. We don't yet have enough long-term data to fully measure the results of every recent improvement, particularly for those subdivision developments I talked about that can take 2 to 3 years to go through the process. But early indicators are really encouraging. We're seeing better coordination, better communication, fewer review conflicts, and improved visibility into these timelines. At the same time, it's important to recognize it's not just a permit process, it's also design and collaboration. We spend a lot of time sitting down with the design teams and the developers talking about struggles that they're having with fitting the number of lots they need to make a project feasible, and then the standards we have for a safe intersection, and looking at design speeds and where can they put that cul-de-sac and where do they need to have that street connecting. All of the factors that come in, we work collaboratively with the design team to figure those out, and it takes time inherently. So we know there's still more work ahead. Many of the larger housing projects entering the process will not fully reach the building permit stage for several years, so continued monitoring and evaluation is going to be important. But ultimately, our goal is simple. we want to reduce unnecessary delays, improve predictability, and help deliver housing more effectively for the Salem community. So, thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions, and as well as our team here on housing production strategy items.
Councillor Brown.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Madam Director, thank you so much for being here tonight and sharing your presentation. It's always enlightening to learn what goes on behind the scene with HPS. You mentioned a few moments ago about incomplete applications. What's your process when it comes to helping, those folks complete them? What do you go through?
So depending on what stage in the process they're in, land use is very clear. We have a 30-day completeness review process where an incomplete letter is sent to the applicant with all the items that are missing that are code required criteria for submitting an application. For commercial developments, we also have a pre-screening process that's returned within 48 hours, and it includes a letter with all the mandatory required items. For example, a commercial development, we can't start that review if we don't have a stormwater management report, or if we don't have a geotechnical evaluation. Parts of those technical guidance materials that feed our review and help us get to an approval state, we'll mention those in a pre-screening process early on. But then, like I said, the residential reviews, we have a submittal guideline checklist on our webpage, but we are still allowing applications to come in with things missing occasionally, and that's where we're seeing those repeated review cycles.
Madam Mayor, one follow-up. Thank you. So when you work with someone and you get the application completed, about how many do you get?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
How many applications do you get?
For what kind of development?
For, let's just say it's going to be, you mentioned earlier about land use, and you mentioned earlier also about how you work with those particular developers. And is it always folks that are probably here close by, or do you entertain folks that are coming from out of state?
I'd say a majority are local developers and local design professionals, but we definitely also have not so much out of state, but out of city design professionals in Portland area, Bend, sometimes Eugene.
Is there a priority list?
No.
There isn't?
I think that back to the collaboration communication, we could do a better job of giving opportunity for outreach and communication collaboration to those out-of-town design developers who don't maybe know who I am or how to reach me, or anyone else on city staff. We don't have a city directory of development resources, so making that option for meetings with staff more available, but that is something we've already implemented. When we send out our completeness letters, we're giving case manager information and offering those meetings, be it virtual or in person. We just tend to see more of those in-person meetings happening with those local developers. If that's their preference, we offer either.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Tigan, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Ms. Dahlke, again for the presentation. Great to see the data. I'm curious about this page, the pie chart using data to understand the review cycles. And maybe it's not easy to characterize, but I'm curious if the thing that pushes something to 2 or more approval cycles it more often happens with more complex projects, or it more often happens with inexperienced developers, like people who don't understand all the I's that need to be dotted and T's that need to be crossed.
I definitely think it's both. So when you have an infill development that, say we just got one on Skyline, and the lot's not served with water or sewer, so it's not in a new, fresh subdivision that has a water meter right in front and a sewer and storm service to the lot because it was designed recently. It's an infill lot where the developer may have a great design plan for the home, but they haven't gotten all the tools or information needed of how they're going to connect this new home to all the services, and maybe they need to get an easement from a neighbor. And so that's kind of part of that first review. Often we have to do with infill. But I do definitely see with the newer subdivisions, especially out-of-town builders, where the first few submittals are missing critical pieces on that checklist. But once we've met with them, once we've given them feedback, suddenly every application after is coming in with everything we need, and we're approving them in 5, 7, 10 business days. So definitely we're seeing more builders doing design build and fully developing subdivisions versus developers selling lots to different builders. We'll often see a wave of 10, 15 building permits coming in at once. And once we've given them, like I said, that feedback, they're all coming in with everything that's needed to get through that first review.
Okay, great. Can I ask a follow-up or two? I'm curious, the 2025 numbers, the 42 to 58, do you have a baseline that you're measuring those against? Like, has that number improved year over year, or have you just started capturing that info this year?
Yeah, and that's another problem we identified with the Harvard Bloomberg, is that we were not identifying and tracking review cycles in our permit system, so it was all manual to look at that data. We had to manually look through every review process on every permit, but we've since made programming updates to our permit system to track review cycles. So now we're able to pull that. That's why the data, though, it doesn't go much further back than 2025, because that's when we started to collect the data. We could manually pull and get samples, but we don't have a lot to compare, at least at this point.
Yeah. Last one, if that's okay. So I guess my kind of final thought there is, I feel like at one time, maybe it was during our orientation, we had learned about the city's effort to bring essentially like project managers to help large developments. Like if you were making a significant investment, you were staffed a certain person as your sort of, what's the word, chaperone, like through the process or something like that. And am I remembering that correctly?
That's the project coordinator role.
Yeah. I guess my question is, do you also have a project coordinator for more inexperienced folks? It seems like if you had something like that, you'd be chipping away at the timeline, essentially from the other end, because the very big projects, you imagine those companies have project managers, right? They have like a lot of overhead to help them. So I'm just sort of like curious if there's another way to also help, smaller developers.
Yes, and so that's a big change we made with the project coordinator role, is that it used to be focused on a high value for a large complex project, and it was not including housing development related multifamily subdivisions. It was primarily commercial industrial development. And so this role now is expanded to all development types, and it's based on capacity and workload of that role. It's been a slow rollout for that position because that person who was hired was unfortunately out of the office for a period of time. But we've really, in the past, I'd say 6 weeks or so, had the opportunity to meet with that coordinator and develop a tracking system for projects that she's assigned. And then as managers of each division within community planning and development, we're able to recommend projects that we think could really use support. And they're not based on value, and they're not based on complexity necessarily. It could be based on an experience or developer from out of town who's used to different processes. So that's what we're really trialing with this new role.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great questions. Councilor Nishioka.
Thank you, and that was one of the questions I was going to ask, so thank you. In speaking to that coordinator, I'm going to also ask the question, as you are implementing these changes, I know that you're probably low in staff numbers, and you're challenged also by that. So is the I guess I'd like to understand what the hope might be as you progress through this new strategy and program, if you feel that you're going to be looking to add more staff or somehow be able to lighten the load so that things can get done. So that's the first question. Can you?
I think a lot to be learned as we continue to monitor. For the first time in a long time, the planning division and the building and safety divisions are fully staffed. That's without adding positions, but that's replacing positions and filling positions. Development Services is not fully staffed. We're about 3 positions down and have a part-time position that will be expiring. So we are looking to recruit and fully staff Development Services division. And then, like I said, we're also just rolling out the project coordinator role, but that's definitely a position that we could see needing some redundancy and needing some cross-training so that when that role, that person is not available or the project numbers increase in different seasons, that we have those positions to support each other. So we definitely are thinking about redundancy and where we can fill those gaps, but we also want to make sure that the division I'm in is fully staffed, that planning and building safety is able to retain staffing, and then we'll see where we're at.
And then my next question, or my last question, as you're going through some of these processes, and this is relevant to someone who has come to me on a single project, had some knowledge, but not doing this regularly. I'm trying to understand the delays that come not because of the city, but because of other permits, such as either utilities or with power. Can you help us understand how that can delay something and then affect the whole process for the applicant?
Yeah, absolutely. We get a lot of feedback about the different delays and reasons, but coordinating with not just the franchise companies, but also state and federal regulators. So Department of State Lands when it comes to wetland permitting, Department of Environment and Quality when it comes to grading, erosion control permitting. There can be a lot of different factors that we have little control, but we do have the knowledge and information of when those triggers can occur and can try to help coordinate application timelines to make sure that they're getting those applications into those review bodies that take longer historically. ODOT, we have rail permits that we've seen recently are really challenging developers to get through the process. They have a hard time even getting responses from some of these agencies. And the city can do our part in supporting them in signing applications, but as far as getting responses back, there's sometimes little that we can do. So I think it's really just an awareness and looking for any opportunity. In one of the attachments, we have kind of a complex timeline. It looked like this. It was too complicated to share on a screen. But that's an example where if we sit down with a developer that has some complex factors on their site, we can look at where those concurrent application reviews can happen and shrink those timelines so that hopefully by the time DEQ is done with their review, they're also done, the city's also done with our review, and we can issue them out permits at that same time. But just a week ago, I got feedback that Portland General Electric is not approving streetlight designs without having a permit from the city, but we're asking for a streetlight design. So which one comes first? So like knowing those things, we can help understand the process when we get that feedback.
That's exactly the one that I was referring
to. Is that what
to.
you heard? I just heard about this, so I'm getting more feedback from said engineer who's been feeding me this intel and seeing what we can do to try to address that.
I would think, too, that wetlands would fall under that complicated category.
Yes.
And same kind of thing, but I'm curious, how do you come to like with the streetlights, how do you come to a place of understanding where let them go first and then we can get that done, or how do you figure that out?
Well, admittedly, I think that's something that we've been lacking is that coordination communication with the other agencies. We know names, we know how to email, but we haven't really sat down, at least that I'm aware of, and had those conversations about each other's process to understand where there could be some better communication or overlap. I think that inherently they're going through changes with their processes the same time that we're doing, but are we sharing that information with each other? I wish there was some body of agencies that could come together. Not that we have time for more meetings or more of that, but I think that's something that we could do better.
Thank you. Anyone else? Questions? Councillor Nordyke.
Thank you. Excellent presentation. I am so excited to see how forthright you and your entire team are about the then, the now, and the next. I think this is really incredible work, and kudos to you. I know every time I see a staff presentation like this, I'm seeing the crystallization of countless hours that went into this, so thank you. I know that you want to get better and better and better and shorten the timelines as much as you possibly can. And I appreciate my colleagues pointing out that the timelines are not 100% within your control. There's a lot that is not within the city's control, and that's important when we in the community hear community concerns about, oh, it takes so long to develop here. Well, this is a complex issue, and we're not the only reason that it takes time to build and really transform the city. My question, I know the goal is to include shorter timelines, but what I've heard many times from city staff and developers alike is that all the easy stuff is taken. So how realistic is it for you to have shorter timelines on land that is more challenging? A lot of the easy, flat stuff is gone, right? And so I'm just curious, how are you going to manage your expectations for shortening timelines, knowing the fact that in various places around Salem, the only places undeveloped so far are in a floodplain or a sheer hillside or other areas that pose a lot of challenges from a design perspective, an engineering perspective, an environmental perspective, and so on.
Thank you for the question. That's a really good point. And I think that's something, especially when we don't have a lot of cases to look back at it each year, but every case we do have, we are dissecting and figuring out new aspects that we can then warn a future developer of. You know, getting your geotechnical engineer on board early is going to be really important because we're hearing it's 6 months to get someone out there. So you should start this process now if you feel confident you want to move forward in the spring. We've also done a lot in asking them more about what is your timeline for development? Like what do you need to produce for an investor or a bank to show them that you've gotten through the process at what point? And what can we point out to you, being that this is a complex site that we're seeing, you're going to need a traffic study, and it's going to be during the school season that you're going to need to do that. So that's either going to need to happen in the next month, 4 weeks, or you're going to need to wait until the fall. So like really trying to be aware of those things that we've heard can be delays in projects, especially as you get to these more complex sites, and anticipating that and helping them through that process. I think is one of the best things that we can do right now. But you're right, it's really hard to look at goals and timelines and just really pick one metric and one goal that we want to go from 6 months to 4 months. Well, it's just not that cookie cutter, unfortunately.
Councillor Teigen, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can I just ask one more clarifying question? Because I think I'd like to talk about this in other forms, but I don't understand it necessarily. The feedback and data review, the building permit for single and middle housing family, just showing my fellow councilors, it's the bar charts. So the takeaway is that the average day to approval is 48 days. Can you just explain what this timeline means? Is this saying in the month of September 2020, if you initiated a project in September of 2025, it took on average 109 days? Like, what do the numbers mean? Because they're clearly more than 30. That's a higher number than 30 days. I just don't understand what the numbers mean exactly.
And I heavily debated sharing this slide because that is difficult if you're not on the dashboard, which is interactive and has disclaimers and more information. So I'd encourage you to look at the dashboard, but yes, it is confusing. And what the September data, for example, is showing is that every single family permit that was issued in September, it gathers all the data of the timeline of review from that bulk of September permits, and it gives you the averages of all of those permits issued in September. And so when I called out the 48 days, average days to approval, that's me looking at the 12 months that this is displaying from April to March, and what the average review time when you total those all and divide by 12.
So this is, if I may, so this is saying you cleared 109 permits in the month of September 2025.
No, overall.
That's when they were approved?
Again, what you can't see, if you hover over, it tells you the number of permits that were issued in that month of September.
Okay.
That's not called out.
109, 100, 104.
That's what it's saying? Yeah. Oh, I don't know my own dashboard.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Well, my feedback is it might be interesting to see the data another way, which is in what month, what's the best month to start an application? This tells us when it ends, which if it took 109 days, I don't know.
Yeah.
But you don't know when they began. If there's a seasonality to it and there's a benefit to the development community to say, oh, they're always really busy in, I don't know, February, March, April, I'm going to start my applications in the less busy times of the year. Which the way this data, now that I understand it, doesn't tell you that. It tells you when they end rather than when they start.
Right, and exactly, you really can't see a trend in higher or lower application rate. There is another slide that shows number of applications in each given month. There's another tab of the dashboard, and then applications issued in each month. But when trying to evaluate the averages, that was the metric that worked the best for this tab.
Got it.
But I do agree, and I think it can get overwhelming of how do you break the data down with all of this information. But that's the kind of feedback we're hoping to get from the development community, and why we've really, and the council and anyone else in the community, and why we've really pushed this development dashboard is, what do you want to see? What metrics do you want us to report on more in like a live fashion or more common? And can our software and system and IT professionals help us do that?
Well, thank you for working through that in real time with me. Appreciate it.
Thank you for the support, Lisa.
Councillor Varney, go ahead. Thank you. I really don't have a lot to add other than, of course, since I really like data, I really have a better understanding of what you're doing and the process. The dashboard, I haven't actually had a chance to go to it yet, but just looking at what is coming from it is just exceptional. So thank you. Yeah, the ability to track progress and identify trends is really, really helpful. And then the page that says then, now, and next shows where you were, what we're doing, and then those measurable things in the next, those measurable objectives, like reviewing cycles, shorter timelines, et cetera. So that's really impressive. The one question I really had was on the development community permit process survey. Was that the one that went out to 300 applicants?
Yes.
Okay, but there were only 12 respondents. So my question is, how will you increase feedback from the development community? Because, I was looking through the survey, but with only 12 responses, it's kind of limited in terms of feedback.
Agree, and we really pushed to try to get more feedback. I had a lot of apologies. I meant to do it, and I didn't have time. In a way, we had, I could say, maybe 20 or so more that participated in the forum and gave us this feedback that helped develop the survey, so there is that. But we also plan to leave the survey open, post a link on our web page, and have a development feedback centered web page to direct people to, especially as we're getting feedback and helping prioritize next action. So that's another way we're hoping to push more feedback. We've even talked about adding it into our signature lines for all the emails we send. So we want to continue to elicit that feedback in whatever way we can. We tried to make it short. It was less than a 5-minute survey, but you could look at many different reasons why there was limited feedback, and I'd like to think it's because we're doing better, but that's just me being optimistic.
At least I was going to ask one more thing. Now I'm trying to remember what it was. All right, never mind.
Anyone else? You sure, Councillor Varney?
I'm not sure. I do have a question.
Councillor Brown.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. So when it comes to that feedback, how do you educate, the developers on the next steps? Like, how do you do that? Like who does that? Who does the teaching and the educating? Who does that?
We talked about more opportunities for forums to do. We've had requests to do, after our last forum, that was great, that was really helpful, I learned something. Can our next forum be on permit review comments and how we respond to them? Absolutely, so that's going to be our next direction. We also talked about doing a next steps memo after we issue the land use decision, so it's really clear, specific to that project type. Your next step is preparing a plat. Your next step is applying for site plan review. Whatever unique combination of applications that specific development needs, we've talked about doing a next steps memo with clear contact of who to contact if you don't understand. So that's not something we've implemented quite yet. We do it in a way, but that's something that we've talked about doing.
So going forward, that's something that you and your team want to do?
Yes.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Varney, go ahead.
Thank you. I remembered what I was thinking about since we were talking about data. One of the things in the permitting efficiency study, one of the observations that concerned me was employee morale, burnout, lack of staff, needing to recruit more. I was wondering, does this new process with enhanced data tracking, is it making the process more efficient and taking some of that pressure off of employees, or can you even gauge that?
That's really hard to say or measure. There's definitely still major concerns around staff morale and burnout with some of the expectations that I'll say lenders are giving developers for turning things around that inherently then go to the staff to try to work overtime to make happen, because we really are doing everything in our power to get these developments forward. We know it's a very challenging market out there, so we do what we can to move things as quickly as we can. But I think it does. I do little cheers in the office when I tell staff the data came in for that month and we met our goal in every single metric. That's a really encouraging point that I can bring up at staff meetings. So I think in a way that is helping with morale.
City Manager Numbry.
Thanks, Mayor. The city manager is having technical issues. So, Councillor Varney, I do want to kind of respond to that question. I think what has been challenging over the past couple of years was the staff have that day-to-day work that they have to perform. And on top of that, we were trying to bring all these improvements. And I think it does take a few years before we can actually settle down. So I do want to kind of give credit to the staff for continuing to make these improvements. And this is kind of on top of their regular job duties. So it does take a lot for them to be, for them to do what they did over the past few years. So I appreciate the work that they've done. So, but I think right now we are in that phase where everybody is overworked. So.
Anyone else? Thank you. Great job, everyone. Thanks so much for your hard work and effort. All right, we are moving on now to item 5B, the use of the Salem Safety and Livability Bond Premium for electrical upgrade improvements for the Civic Center Seismic retrofit project.
Good evening. My name is Aaron Kimsey. I'm the Assistant City Engineer with the City of Salem, Project Manager for the Salem Civic Center project. Can I go to presentation mode? Do I do that here? Okay, no worries. I won't pressure you. Before we get started, I wanted to, appreciate it, thank you. I wanted to let you know that I'm here to request $1.5 million of bond premium funds for the electrical issues that have been recently discovered on the Civic Center project. Before we get into the details on that, I've got lots of slides to show you, but before we get into that, I also wanted to let you know that this presentation was shared with the Bond Oversight Committee just recently, and they recommended that this come to council tonight for action. And so for those of you, as a reminder, or don't know, or should know, maybe, I don't know, the Bond Oversight Committee is, their main role is to kind of, the staff, keep them abreast of all the bond projects that are happening right now. And we bring issues to them to get insight, to get whether, ask them, should we come to council or not. And so this is an issue that they heard and said, we agree with this, but we want it to come to council. So All right, so I feel like it's important to understand where we are with the overall bond progress. So as you all know, it was a $300 million measure that was passed, and we issued the first issuance was back in February 2023, and we've actually we have completed or are in contract with just over $100 million of that first sale. And so that we're essentially a third of the way through the overall bond schedule. And we just recently issued the second issuance back in April, so just last month. So that's good news. This is a snapshot of our bond premium and interest earnings since fiscal 2023. So what you see here is with our first bond sale, we received just under $7.4 million with that sale, and we've been accruing interest on that money over the last few years. And then with our recent second issuance, we received roughly $3.2 million of bond premium as well. So that gives us a total of, I'll say, $16.6 million of premium and interest that's kind of sit in the bank. We have had other projects that have needed to come to you all to request some of that premium be used for other projects. So that 1.7 on the third column over transfers to support projects. That amount has been issued to other projects, but we still have the overall balance of 16.6. Okay, so for, I think you all have probably seen this slide before. I've shared it in a bunch of different settings. But really, I wanted to highlight again, for the sake of this discussion, that the overall bond project, the number one priority, the number one goal was to build a resilient, safe, and sustainable building. And so that primarily includes seismic upgrades and building system improvements. And so, unfortunately, well, I'll say through the work of the seismic improvements, kind of taking the building apart and putting it back together, it created opportunities to be able to do more system upgrades, kind of while you're in the building, take advantage of staff being away so that you can do things like sprinkler installation, HVAC system improvements with the ducting, new plumbing throughout the space. Unfortunately, due to our limited funding overall on this project, staff, and actually a lot of these decisions were passed through the Bond Oversight Committee as well. We had to make some difficult decisions about what system improvements we actually make on the project. And so we prioritized those and implemented those. At the time, the electrical system was known to be aging and old, but it was functioning. And so it was not included with the system improvements with the original scope. However, now that we've gone into construction, we've uncovered some things that we didn't previously know. And so one of those is a grounding issue that I'll show in a little more detail here in a sec. But first, some progress photos. So again, on my left, your right, the shear wall is one of 6 right here that we're showcasing, and this kind of represents the significant seismic upgrades that we're doing on this building, and we are nearly finished with all of the concrete pours for the shear walls. So I'm sure you've seen this one if you've driven down Commercial, and there's 5 more. So, and then the picture on the right, on the right is it's not a great picture, but it's a glimpse into the interior space, one of the interior spaces within the building. And what I'm really trying to point out is, you can see the ductwork in the ceiling. You can't quite see the sprinkler system and the plumbing, but it's up there. And so just kind of highlighting, again, while we're there, these are really, really key issues to try to make these improvements. And so, again, the electrical issue that's come up was outside of the scope, and so we're trying to pull that in with this request. Okay, so on any complicated project like this, we like to have what I'll call a pot of contingency money. And so essentially that is a pot of money that we can use during the project for things that are unknown, that pop up during construction. If you think about when you're remodeling a house, if it's an old house, there's things behind walls that you don't know about. There's foundations and footings that you're like, oh gosh, I wish I had known that. In our case, in particular, we have a 50-year-old building and we have as-builts, and we're realizing almost daily that a lot of the as-built information we have is inaccurate, or they didn't build it. Like the as-built is like maybe in quotes, I guess. And so what I wanted to show here with this high-level slide is at the beginning of your project, when 0% is complete, your risk is really high. And then as you complete the project, your risk goes to 0. And so we're actually really close to halfway done with the project, and we have spent about half of our contingency. So we're really on track for expiring the risk and using our contingency. And so this slide is more detailed, kind of represents the previous, but it kind of drilled down scenarios. So we took, excuse me, I'm getting a little dry mouth here. All right, so we took all of the construction categories: demolition and abatement, structural demo, earthwork, structural, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and finishes. And we have those all categorized, and they all have varying risk. And so the higher risk items we assigned more contingency towards, and the items that maybe are less risky, we've assigned less risk to. And so this basically shows that we're completing those upper bar levels, and we're getting really close to completing our earthwork category. Structural is not that far behind, and then we get down into the finishes, which is like 3%. So you saw from that earlier picture, the inside is still very much torn apart. And so we started the project with $1.7 million in our contingency pot. And as the project has developed and gone through, we've spent just under $800,000. So we are at kind of that halfway mark. And so I think the key takeaway from this slide, a lot of numbers, a lot of colors, but really what I wanted to point out is we are spending contingency exactly at the pace the risk is being expired or retired. So in case you were curious or wanted to know, I mentioned the $800,000 that has been spent towards contingency or has been committed to contingency. These are just kind of really high level items that we have had to address throughout the construction to date. So we have had some issues with our abatement demolition, some drainage systems, and so on and so forth. So that's just kind of a high level what we have had to address to date. So now we get to the electrical grounding condition. So this is the new issue that was new to us. And I think what I want to point out here is to focus on the colors. So red essentially means that there's no grounding wire with a feeder. There's no safe path for a fault to get to ground. Green represents a panel that actually is safe and grounded properly. And so as you can see from this slide, we don't have enough green. It should all be green. So yellow is, I would say, it has a ground sort of, but not really. It's not to code. And if there was a fault, we don't really know if it would actually work. So we're calling that not great. That's something that's critical. And so why is that important? It's important because the current electrical system is harmful to life and property. So someone could get electrocuted, there could be a fire, and unfortunately, the only way to address the grounding issue is to do a complete electrical system overhaul, if you will. So we're talking panels, breakers, and then the actual grounding itself. Like I said, there's no safe path for the fault to go.
Excuse me, Aaron?
Yes.
Councillor Tigan has a question.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, on the, you've dumbed it down sufficiently for city council. Thank you. Can you go back to the picture with the colors?
This one?
Yes.
Yeah.
So do all of those individual boxes represent essentially panels?
Yep.
Across the facility? You have
Yep.
that many electrical panels?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And so that's all. I just wanted to double check that those are panels.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So the green evidently have had some improvements over the past 50 years to bring them to code and properly ground them, and then the others just have not.
Excuse me, Aaron?
Yeah.
Councillor Brown has a question.
Sure.
Thank you. I just want to go back to the slide that has the contingency on it. I just need to.
This one?
That's the one.
Okay.
Now you said that the contingencies, they have they can go up or down, right? Did you say that earlier?
Contingencies go up and down?
Yeah. Did you say the contingencies, they can rise?
Well, no. The contingency is just a term that we use for a pot of money that is basically kind of to cover any unknowns or risks that come up during construction. So we're able to address those should they come up.
And you say you're right at the place you want to be. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
We're
right on pace to spend. I mean, ideally, we don't find anything else, and we have the balance of 800,000, 900,000.
That's a good place.
That would be a good place. Okay. But the reality is that's probably not going to be true.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay. So the heart of the issue, this represents kind of a really, like, again, high-level snapshot of what code requirements, or what electrical changes are needed. So we need to upgrade the electrical system to meet grounding code requirements, replace code-deficient branch circuit panel boards, and replace distribution switch boards at the end of their life. The total for that is $1.7 million. However, with Howard S. Wright's, they're the contractor on the project that's been doing the construction thus far. As part of their guaranteed maximum price, their GMP, they included an allowance for tariffs. We issued the GMP at a time when there was a lot of uncertainty with tariffs and uncertainty of how much potentially things might be more expensive. The good news is we were able to be really proactive and order all the materials in advance to get ahead of those tariffs before they were fully implemented. And so, yeah, I think we actually originally included $250,000 total for the tariff allowance, and we've only spent $7,000. So that's really good news, and we're at a point in the project where we no longer need to hold that allowance. So the project team recommendation is to release, Howard S. Wright's agreed to release that allowance back to the city, and we're going to put that towards this request. So that would ultimately mean a premium ask of $1.5 million. And then
Aaron?
lastly, this is the recommendation slide. So
Councillor Gwynn has a question.
So my question might be a dumb one. I don't know. I'm always told there is no such thing,
it's
right?
true.
But I guess, so my question is, I'm sort of surprised that we didn't anticipate this.
Sure.
The property was built in 1972, right? Building codes and electrical codes change over time.
Mm-hmm.
This is 40 years old. I mean, wouldn't we have anticipated that the electrical would need to be updated?
Yes.
I guess I'm just surprised.
Yes. No, that's a good question. So at the time, you're right, codes have changed. So when the building was first constructed in the 72, this grounding requirement was not required. And so there was previous work that was completed 10, 15 years ago that we thought had addressed some of the grounding deficiencies. when we got into actually looking at the building with the building electrical inspector, he was like, this isn't going to work, this isn't to code, this isn't compliant. And so it wasn't until we were able to essentially kind of open up the structure and see all that was in there to really truly identify the issues. So, I mean, I think you're right. You know, like I said, it's an aging system, but when we made those prioritized decisions a year ago, we thought that we were making that under the assumption that we had a working system, and that we didn't know the grounding wasn't properly, or that it wasn't the grounding wasn't working at the time. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but it's a little frustrating to me because we're the city. I mean, we do these inspections, so it would seem like that we would know what work was done on our facility 10 years ago. So to me, it's just a little frustrating.
Sure.
And I would just add, having a little bit of experience in this, having to replace a furnace in a house that's old, and they wouldn't replace the furnace until we upgraded the panel. So code changes, rules and regulations change over time. And basically, I think anybody who was in the building for the 54 years it was there should buy a lottery ticket because they weren't electrocuted. No, that was just a silly joke. Councilor Nishioka.
Thank you. Aaron, thank you very much for coming here. I will confess I was the one that asked. I get to be on the Civic Center Planning Committee, and I have watched this team work so incredibly hard at trying to stay within the costs on a building that keeps providing surprises. And this certainly was a big surprise. And then coming to the bond committee, which again, I get to serve on. And when this was presented to us just recently, I just felt that the rest of the council would kind of want to be updated because of this high cost, but at the same time, helping us understand the need and the safety issue. What I think too, and maybe if necessary, Josh can come up. I think I also wanted everyone to hear that things are going well with the bond, and we had the funds. And the committee members that were there were wanting to really get some clarity with the hope that there wouldn't be too many more asks. Right. Yeah. But, you know, again, we don't know, but because there is still some contingency left. Mainly, I want to just thank you for this presentation, and I know that other counselors will have more questions, but I think this was really important to bring to us.
Thank you. Yeah, just to back up with that, you know, if we had, I feel like the Civic project could easily be a $60 million project in order to do all the things that need to be done. And like I said, we really prioritized the most critical things. Electrical sounds critical, and it is, but at the time, with the information that we had, we unfortunately weren't able to fund it within the scope. And so, you know, now that we know this, it is a critical issue. It's not something that necessarily can be left as is. And so that this $1.5 million will be able to allow us to make these improvements and set up the building for future generations. And I think I had this as a last slide, but I kind of want to point it out because I think it's helpful in telling the full bond story. Of the $300 million that the voters approved for all the projects, the Civic Center is $42 million of that. And so it represents 14% of the total bond. And with the premium ask tonight and the previous ask that when I was here a year ago, that puts us at 14% of the premium that we have to date. And so I think what that means is if we were to divvy the premium out to all the projects, then we could say, okay, you know, transportation project, you get this share of premium. Park project, you get this share of premium. Civic Center, you get this share of premium. And so as it sits today with the premium that we have, we're really like right there with kind of the allowance, if you will, that would go towards the Civic Center. So.
Anyone else? Yeah, Councilor Tigan.
Sorry, can you go back to the part talking about the tariff premium? Yeah. That part, I'm not familiar with how the tariff allowance was negotiated into the contract, but the way you described it, it sounded like either Howard Wright or the city somehow, for lack of a better term, sort of beat it by purchasing the equipment ahead of time. But we haven't approved it yet, so I'm sort of curious, like, how did we manage to beat or use this allowance that way?
So the allowance was part of the initial GMP to Howard S. Wright. So when they gave us for an alternative delivery bid project, we collaboratively designed the project, and then they say, okay, we can build this project for this much. And but even at that point in time, the plans are really only like 90% complete. So they include a lot of allowances. So they'll say, okay, we're going to need an allowance for some electrical that we haven't quite figured out, but this will cover us. And then there's other allowances. And so one of the allowances in this case, which was new, this is the first time we've had it, is this tariff allowance. So they essentially said at 90% plans, okay, we know we have, doors and hardware and steel, lots of steel, all these things that in a normal climate, they can pretty much, know how much those things are going to cost. And they can zero in on that and be pretty accurate within the GMP. This time last year, we didn't. It was not very uncertain, and so the 250 that they put in there was really just a guess. It was like, we don't know. Let's put 250 in there, but the beauty of it is, if they don't spend it, it comes back to us. And so, we told them at the time, hey, okay, we got this allowance, but let's be proactive. Let's drill down the design, order all the things that need to be ordered in advance so that we can secure this money, which is what happened. Does that help?
So essentially you're saying in some other alternate universe, they could have charged us, they could have used the tariff allowance to have the project cost $1.7 million. Through their own proactive planning and your work with them, they're able to not have to charge us.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So if we didn't have this issue, that 243 would go back into our contingency. And then we would have another 243,000 on top of the 900 to kind of fatten our pot of money. In this case, with this issue at hand, we said, well, had we known this was going to be in the project, we would have had a larger contingency. And so it's all kind of relative. So we decided we don't need this extra money in our contingency. We feel comfortable where we're at. So let's put this towards this effort.
Councilor Varney.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. And I'm on the committee, and I'm glad that we're here just talking about it. I want to make sure maybe members of the public understand we're not asking about general fund monies or whatever. We're asking about bond premium. And I wanted to recognize the finance department for their great work with tracking our finances and the fact that Salem has a good bond rating, which when we do the bond sale, we're attractive to investors and we get a good interest rate. And that's where this bond premium comes from. And so I just wanted to say thanks to the Finance Committee. And looking at the electrical being a shock fire hazard, dangerous grounding issues, and the fact that you can't even get parts for the things that are still there, I'm really supportive of this. Thank you.
Anyone else? Comments, questions? Councillor Nordyke.
Thank you. What is the estimated completion date for the Civic Center?
Excellent question. So we are still tracking for completing this in January of 2027, with staff moving in that late January, early February timeframe. When this issue first came to us, we thought, oh no, we're in trouble, because a lot of times these particular parts and pieces have a really long lead time. But we sent the design build team away and told them to do their homework and figure things out. And so they came back to us and said, we can do it, and we could order parts. Essentially, like if we get approval tonight, they're ready to go tomorrow. And so that will essentially mean parts will be here on time for us to make this installation and still be on time for our completion date, barring any other unknowns. So.
Anyone else? Awesome. Great report. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, Councillor, do we have a motion?
Yes. I move to approve the use of $1.5 million in bond premiums to pay for the electrical upgrade improvements for the Civic Center Seismic project.
Second.
I have a motion and a second by Gwynn. Councillor, anything further?
I do not have anything further.
Anyone else? Councillor Tigan, go ahead.
Yeah, I would just say in my brief research on this and just thinking about the bargain that we're getting as part of our bond, the city of Dallas is is currently in a process to restore its city hall, which is also a gleaming example of brutalist architecture. It's costing them $1.14 billion to restore their city hall with a B. So I think, you know, kudos to the team for keeping things on schedule and at a reasonable budget. So thank you. Better than rebuilding it from the ground up.
Which city was that, Councillor Tigan?
Dallas, Texas. Not Dallas, Oregon.
Texas.
Dallas, Texas.
I'm like, wait a minute.
I know. Sorry. You got to know your crowd here, okay? The big D.
And they don't have paid parking. No, that's great. Sorry. Anything further? Anyone? Okay. All right. Will the recorder please call the roll?
Councillor Matthews, absent. Councillor Gwynn.
Aye.
Councillor Brown.
Aye.
Councillor Vang.
Aye.
Councillor Nordyke.
Aye.
Councillor Varney.
Aye.
Councillor Teagan.
Aye.
Councillor Nishioka.
Aye.
Mayor Julie Hoy.
Aye. All right. Motion passes. Moving on to item 5C, the adopting the City of Salem's 2026 to 2031 strategic plan. Welcome.
Welcome. Good evening, everyone. Courtney Knox-Bush, Assistant City Manager, Director for Strategy and Engagement, and I will be walking through the strategic plan for you this evening, and it will join us in just a moment. There is again a presentation. Maybe while I have your attention, I'll just say a couple of things. I just want to share from my personal perspective that this work has been pretty amazing. I see strategic planning as a symbiotic process wherein we're able to benefit from your perspectives, community perspectives, and employee perspectives. And how about a different one? Yeah, I mean, we could do that again. But I would not be the right speaker. It looks just like it. Anyway, so just wanting to share my personal appreciation for the work that you've done to bring this to this point, which is where we're considering it for adoption this evening. And I want to just say, at its best, for me, strategic planning can be three big things. I'm sure it might be other things for everyone else, but for me, at its best, it's inspirational, where it sets a North Star for all of us to be guided by. And that's happened with your articulation of the vision for the city. It's also affirming. It sets clear expectations and agreements for how we're going to work together towards that North Star. Those are usually guiding principles or values in a strategic plan. And the last part for me is it's directional. It sets those immediate priorities, and it starts to articulate a couple of priorities for us in the next coming years. So all in all, the work is pretty fabulous this evening and available for you for tonight to consider adoption. So this is what I plan to do this evening. I'm open to questions as we go, but I'm really hoping just to pause for a moment. It's been a minute since you last looked at the mission, vision, values. That was in March 16th work session. So I want to just remind everybody about what we do together in strategic planning, why it's important. We've just done that, check, and how we got here and what we heard and how we're using it, and a little bit more into the measures. So you might remember this. You've probably seen it maybe in different colors, different forms over the years. But we use this as our strategic planning framework. You can see that it represents the mission, vision, values we just discussed. It flows through into a strategic plan, which is broad strategic guidance, 3 to 5 years planning horizon, just about as far as you can see, but not too far. And we like to measure how well we've done around outcomes, and they're broader strategic outcomes. They're not going to be really specific or key performance indicators that might guide day-to-day work. And then we typically take a bite, a one-year bite, out of the strategic plan. We call it a policy agenda, otherwise known as your work plan for the year. And then we also have, we draw on many, many department plans. We've talked today about the police strategic plan. There was a reference to some of the master planning work we do and housing production strategy, riparian inventory, a bunch of other action plans, really focus more on the infrastructure, usually, sometimes a geography area. But all of that gets pulled in to the strategic planning framework. This is the strategic plan in pictures. Last time we did this was 2021 through 26. And then you can see little pictures of the annual work plans that we've done in the past. And then we do an annual community report. And usually that's presented to you in fall. So this is a little daunting, but this represents all of the work that's gone into this strategic plan since we started in July. I want to point specifically to some of the early steps, which are when you're building a solid strategic plan, you like to take stock of where you've been, what you've done, what you've learned, and you want to look at where there might be some gaps, and you start planning usually from that work. It shows a culmination of a lot of different engagements that we've done, a variety of perspectives, making good use of earlier survey data and other things, so not doing a lot independent, but really just grabbing all of the great outreach and engagement work that we've done, culminating in all voices in the plan. The light blue ones you can see are your touches. You had some interviews early on. You did review a SWOT assessment, or a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. You did some visioning work. And then when you last got together, you agreed that the mission, vision, values were solid and ready to go. And then you talked a bit about measures. So this is unique this time around. We were able to organize the strategies in the plan around the result areas. These are probably familiar since we've just finished the initial phase of the budget. But what this does for us is it gives us a really unique opportunity to align the broader strategies with the outcome measures, with the individual measures, with everything that will be in the budget and that will be coming. So it's a really unique opportunity to get really tight alignment throughout all of the work that you do. So what is in the plan? In your packets, there's a early draft of the strategic plan. I think it's on page 2 of this plan. You'll see the guiding principles. But what you should see is the way we've presented it. The mission, vision, values are there. Guiding principles are on page 2. That's new again to this edition. It helps guide strategic decision-making as we continue through this plan years. And in the shading, you'll see an emphasis on the year 1 priorities. That is reflective of things that are already in the budget, already going on, and you'll see those in each of the areas inside the strategic plan. It should be in your packet from this evening. Okay, it's probably online if it's not at your desks. Okay, so the year one are highlighted in the shaded color on each of the sections. Okay. And then you'll also see that we've tried to articulate what the city role is for each of the activities. The city's either doing the role, is a doer, they're a convener, or they are a partner, and trying to really be specific about how we're going to show up in these activities. And then you can also see outcome measures again in each of these areas. And again, those are going to be broad and not specific to any one activity. You want them to live beyond 1 year, but live for the whole planning process. And so they're designed to be broader in their scope. Also in your packet for this evening, there is a summary presentation of the community feedback that we've received. So I'll just highlight a couple of those. By the way, I should just begin by saying it's positive. Okay, so what we know is that we surveyed community members and employees in Spanish and English. We did this from April 3rd and through April 12th of this year, and we had 620 people participate. Mostly positive feedback. As part of the survey, we asked folks to let us know how they related to Salem, and what you'll see is more than half of the respondents were longtime residents or workers in our community, and they were connected to Salem as residents, property owners, or working in our community. In terms of the vision, we asked, the vision is over here in the blue shaded, and we asked people to tell us what their overall view of the goals and directions of the city were after they had reviewed either the draft plan in Spanish or in English. And what we heard is that most people found it to be mostly on track and aligned with community priorities. And then we got a lot of feedback. Mostly the feedback we heard was emphasizing maintaining a priority on core services that the city is doing and running new initiatives, but really trying to get that balance. So that was noted. We also heard an interest in seeing more reporting about funding, the value, and what people are getting for it. And there was an affordability concern, and this isn't the way you might be hearing about it these days, but more about, can the city really afford to do all of these things? And who is going to pay? Sort of an undercurrent of the feedback. Lots of great feedback, still going through it. Some great notes to give to our transit partners and our school district partners. We've gotten a lot of feedback for everybody, and so we're going to try to dole that out so everybody gets a little bit of perspective from the community. So also, what did we heard? So about the measures, we heard that almost 90%, so that would be combining the 40% that thought that the measures were well, and 50 who thought they were somewhat well articulated. We got a lot of positive feedback about the measures in general. And then we did get a lot of feedback about measures also. People really want to see more details, more specificity, and those are going to be coming in those other plans that we spoke about earlier. And they want to see more regular reporting. And I should tell you all, this is really going to be a big focus for the city in this coming year. Measures. We're so excited. We're going to get really into it, and you're going to hear a lot more about it, I'm sure. But that is one of the things that will be coming in this year. So how does all of this relate to the budget and to the other things that are going on? So this might also be familiar to you. We used to put this, and we will again, in the annual report. It gives people a sense of what to expect. And so where we are is sort of up in the light blue. We're kind of in winter, kind of heading towards spring. In a regular year, when we're not doing the update to the strategic plan, we're usually visiting with you in January and February and putting together your policy agenda or your direction to us about your work plan. This year, we're doing that through the year one priorities inside the plan, trying to be highly efficient and take all of the input that we've gotten and use that as direction for year one. Then we, as staff in the green, we take action, and we start delivering those results that you've asked us to do. The budget is approved, and there usually is a lot of alignment. All of this strategic planning really was born out of a council request to be more involved in policy setting. The feeling was that the budget was the policy document, and they wanted, council at the time, wanted a lot more involvement in the front end. And so that's why we do this. We started doing this, 2017 was the first year we had a citywide strategic plan. And so then we start to get community feedback as we get closer into this late summer, early fall. And we use the residential satisfaction survey or community satisfaction survey. We use the forecasting tool that you're so familiar with from finance. And then we build an annual community report to report out on what we did over the year. And that is usually the beginning of you taking stock for the coming year in the policy agenda. So that is generally our planning cycle. And then I wanted to tell you a little bit about what's coming next. So this is a high-level overview of what we think is coming next in terms of work sessions. One of the other things that happened around 16, 17 is we realized that your time is also highly valuable and oversubscribed. And so we started thinking about work sessions and how they relate back to the topics of community and council interest. And so you can see here a reflection on some of the topics that we expect are coming forward as early as Monday night. You're going to be listening to the North Waterfront Urban Renewal area. That relates directly to the strong and diverse economy result area. And then you can see system development charges. That's showing up in good governance. You can see that we're going to update on the Our Salem project and all the other community engaged planning projects that are going on right now. That's all over the place, actually. I could if you want, I'll tell you, but it's in welcoming and livable, it's in safe and reliable infrastructure, it's in the natural environment stewardship, it's everywhere. Those plans impact everything we do. And then you can see an intent to come back with a transportation fund status report to you. In September, we'll be looking at a revenue roadmap, which was something that council had asked for a couple of months ago. And then we have a homelessness status report, and that is something that is on everyone's minds. We'll have performance metrics too for that report. And then we'll begin again and start to plan the coming year. So that is what is next. And that is a high-level overview of your strategic plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone have thoughts, questions? Councillor Brown, go ahead.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Assistant City Manager Courtney Knox-Bush, thank you. So you mentioned the community has an appetite for measures. And being a part of the legislative committee, do you think we're going to have support from our legislators when it comes to looking at measures 5 and 50 for the long session?
That was lovely the way you tied those two things together, Councillor Brown. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And you're asking because I also staff the legislative committee, just for everyone's awareness. To answer your question, I know that measures 5 and 50 in property tax reform are a high priority of the League of Oregon Cities and probably the Association of Oregon Counties. And it's always the top one. And then also, council has an opportunity to weigh in on those priorities as well. So we'll be doing that probably in the next 2 months as we get going for the next session. But I'm hearing it still remains a top priority.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Nothing? Great job. Thank you so much. All right, if there's no further discussion, will the recorder, shall we do the motion, please?
I move to adopt the 2026 to 2031 City of Salem Strategic Plan.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Councillor Brown. Councillor to the motion.
I just want to say thank you again to to Courtney for all the hard work. Thank you.
Anything else? Councillor Teigen.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor, and similarly, I'd like to echo that thanks and to the staff and for all the community members who participated in this. I think just from even comparing the two surveys that we heard about tonight, we got 12 responses on how to fix the development process. We got 623 about what our strategic plan for the city should be. And in theory, almost 600 people read the measures in the plan because they weighed in on them, and that's like amazing. And I think it speaks to the engaged level of the community and the interest in the work that we're doing. And I think it also, we've done a lot through the most recent budgeting process and leading to that to really convey to the residents that we have a strategic perspective about where the city is going. This isn't a Monday night by Monday night ad hoc approach to governance. It's about engaging with our community and listening to them and building a responsive government. And so I really appreciate the work of all of the city staff and the community to come together and put this strategic plan forward. I think it gives us a lot to go on as counselors when we get good ideas or dream up good ideas at night, that we have a framework to put them towards. So I just appreciate it. Looking forward to passing it.
Very well put. Thank you very much. Yes, Councillor Bain.
Thank you, Mayor. I remember during our work session, I wanted our strategic planning to be inspirational. I was hoping to get our Star Trek quote in there, but I guess this is fine too. I look forward to adopting this and seeing where Salem will go for the next 5 years. This is really exciting, so thank you.
Councillor Brown.
Can we get a Lord of the Rings quote too? No, I do want to highlight, just the great work of the staff. But under good governance, there's a couple things, Madam Mayor, and to Madam City Manager, that I just want to highlight. Proposed outcome measures, maintaining the city's long-term financial sustainability and fiscal responsibility, and increasing resident trust and satisfaction with city services and communication. If we can recall, a year plus back, the city did not trust us when it came to just being fiscally responsible. And then all the hard work that we put in to get the levy passed, I think that definitely raised all of our constituents' belief that we could do this job. And the part I really want to highlight is that there's a word in there involving, better communication. And I would say this to you, Assistant City Manager, and to Madam City Manager right beside me, is that when you all decided to bring on those two folks back there, your PIO, and of course, Francis is there and Susanna is not here. I do want to say this because a lot of the folks in the community may not know about these three individuals. But for those of you that are in the space and that are watching at home, those individuals thus far, they have been a tremendous help. Just in responding to a lot of our constituents' concerns, being available. I know personally for me, when it comes to, just talking points and just being there. So I want to say thank you. Thank you for that part of the leadership, because that is being more so being responsible when it comes to just our finances, but also responding. And so to see these additions to the staff, it is just a huge lifesaver. So thank you for the leadership.
Yes, of course. Go ahead, Madam.
I'll make it quick. And I said this at, I think, last council meeting. Rob and Francis are going to fix everything. That's kind of what the plan is. But I just have to mention that even we as a leadership team, we're also getting used to this extra help because we never had this kind of help before. So I appreciate both Francis and Rob being on top of especially communicating with our constituents when the concerns are raised. Sending a response in a timely manner is very important. So I appreciate that, both of their help.
Wonderful. Anyone else? Nothing else? And we have the motion? We've got that, okay. And we're going to go ahead and ask the recorder to call the roll.
Councillor Gwynn.
Aye.
Councillor Brown.
Aye.
Councillor Vang.
Aye.
Councillor Nordyke.
Aye.
Councillor Varney.
Aye.
Councillor Teagan.
Aye.
Councillor Nishioka.
Aye.
Mayor Julie Hoy.
Aye. Okay, we are now moving on to information reports. I'll run through these. If you need to, just feel free to stop me. Item 6A, update on the social service pilot program. Item 6B, the City of Salem fiscal year 2026 quarter 3 financial report. Item 6C, the City of Salem fiscal year 2025 final year-end financial report. And that's it for information reports. We have no ordinances. We have no first readings. We do have a second reading. Go right ahead.
Ordinance Bill Number 6-26, an ordinance declaring certain territory located at 2170 Walker Road Northeast and 4893 Sunnyview Road Northeast annexed to the City of Salem, prescribing its comprehensive plan map designation and zoning, and withdrawing the territory from the Marion County Fire District Number 1 and East Salem Sewer and Drainage District. Councillor Vang.
Aye.
Councillor Brown.
Correction. Aye.
Councillor Nordyke.
Aye.
Councillor Varney.
Aye.
Councillor Tigan.
Aye.
Councillor Nishioka.
Aye.
Councillor Matthews is absent. Councillor Gwynn.
Aye.
And Mayor Julie Hoy.
Aye. Motion passes. We are moving on to public comment. We do have 2 people signed up to give testimony. Please come forward when your name is called, announce your name, your ward, or your address for the record, and push that green button so the microphone will be on. I have Sarah Vick and Jonas. Sarah Vick here? Okay, Jonas, it's you.
That I had more time to mentally prepare. Firstly, Jonas, unincorporated. First, I just want to say that it's ironic how Salem says it wants to reach their environmental goals, yet they now employ one of the most environmentally and economically damaging methods to ease wait times for non-emergency calls. I am, of course, talking to AI. If you want to see a poster child for AI, go to Hillsborough. Moving on, why are we spending so much money on PD when we know that social programs and education are the most cost-effective means of reducing and preventing crime and homelessness? Maybe the money spent on building their new fortress would have been better used to update our schools that are falling apart. Which brings me to my next point. Why aren't we fighting to overturn measures 5 and 50? They are fundamentally undemocratic tools that enforce austerity, defend public services, and protect the wealth of large commercial property owners at the expense of the working people of Salem. Why aren't we taxing the people who have all the fucking money? Tax Kroger's, not the freckled bee. Did you know that Target on commercial isn't technically in city limits? That's right. The company that took in $30 billion in profit isn't even paying city taxes. But sure, pass a payroll tax to see if that helps everyone. Finally, I want to comment on something Member Dixon said during the last Budget Committee meeting. His suggestion was good. Finding out info on whether or not what you're doing is actually working is good, especially when it comes to workers' wages. As a working class stiff myself, let me tell you, companies will pay you as little as they can get away with unless forced to do otherwise. You, the council, must tell businesses what a living wage is. You must force them. The lessons of the New Deal teaches us this. Member Cohen said that Salem bodes better than other cities during recessions due to our government jobs. What do those jobs have in common? Unions. When workers do well, the economy does well. And the economy wouldn't be struggling so much if companies that are making record profits actually paid their workers a fair fucking wage. Lastly, to Councillor Nordyke, you want businesses to come to Salem. I have 3 or 4, depending on how you see it, words for you. Municipal fiber optic internet. Salem could be another Silicon Forest if only it had the infrastructure to support it. We could be a center for science and art if only we had a power grid that didn't go out every time a cloud sneezes. Instead of thinking defensively, we should be thinking forward. Instead of asking how we can survive, we should be asking how we can thrive. When workers win, we all win. And when we all win, we all win.
Thank you for your testimony. That's it for this evening. Thank you, Carl, for your first meeting. Great job, sir. We are adjourned.